the 5K race, one of the most popular running races on the planet. But as more people start to do the 5K race, that 10K race starts to get on the radars. I mean, how much harder could doing 5K races twice really be? Well, for most pros, their 10K pace is actually only a few seconds per kilometer/mile than their 5K pace. So pro elite runners are actually suffering longer. But me and most amateur runners, there's a huge drop between our 10K and 5K pace. I mean, huge. Upcoming, we'll be touching on physiologically what's actually happening to your body in the 5K versus the 10K race. Can training for a 5K and 10K race actually help you run a really good time in an ultra 50K race? How your training needs need to change from 5K to 10K specific work? Listen on to learn about that and more on this episode of Trees and D-Lake.
What is up? Welcome to Trees and D-Lake, an audio and video content series by Mike Trees and me, Darren D-Lake Runs. Here's Mike Trees, a 50-year plus pro runner and triathlete, on how exactly we want to help you.
The aim of this podcast is to give, in a light-hearted, amusing and entertaining way, hints and tips to help you all run better and enjoy your sporting life more. So let's see how we can go with that.
What about me? Well, I've been running and doing this endurance sport thing for like 26 years now. I've run a sub 3-hour marathon and I've done an Ironman triathlon in 10 hours. Language warning, on a few rare occasions, we sometimes use some bad words to get our point across. Apologies for that. And last point, we do all of that in a super short, sharp, and concise way because
ain't nobody got time for that.
The first point, the physiology between what is actually happening to your body in the 5K race versus the 10K race. Is there a difference? I don't know. I feel like they're two totally different races. Is it all in my head? Am I just not meant to be doing the 10K? Let me know.
So for me, a 5K was all about how fast I could run it. Whereas a lot of new runners are just thinking, well, I've covered the distance. Surely I can do a 10K now. Surely I can get up to a marathon. So this is where we need to classify. Are you running these races just to complete them and feel the satisfaction of completing? And there's no problem with that, no harm at all. Or are you seeing what's the fastest time I can do? Which means to run a really good 5K, you need a very good aerobic system. You can clump the 5K and the 10K together in a training block. Or you could say, I'm actually going to do 1500s, 3000 5Ks. Or you could say, I'm going to do 10Ks, half marathons. But you can't put a 1500 together with a half marathon. It's just too diverse.
Can her training for the 5K and 10K also cross over to her doing a 50K ultra marathon?
Let's just draw a middle line and say, between the 5 and the 10K, it's 90% aerobic and 10% anaerobic. So the 90% aerobic training definitely can cross over to a 50K ultra race. I would argue the base training is pretty much the same apart from the long run. You've just got to develop this big aerobic engine. Maybe the marathon runners and ultras will do a longer long run once a week than the shorter guys, but over a winter block of aerobic building. So yes, she can train for a 5K and a 10K, and so long as she's just getting a little bit of a longer run in there, she's also covering her bases to do an ultra. Having said that, her 5K wouldn't be the best. If she's doing some long runs, she's going to be losing that top end speed off the 5K.
What would I change then for the 10K? Would it be 5K, 10K half marathon intervals? Would I still do some of that 3K faster work?
You've got to work out what's most important. And that's the bottom line with all of this. And for you, you've got the natural speed. So you've got to focus on the stamina. I would concentrate more on the 10K intervals and maybe even a 10 miler, like an hour tempo run. What probably happens is you go out too fast as well. For me, I find the best training is intervals of about 8 kilometers. Over time, as you get nearer the race, you don't pick up the pace, you shorten the rest interval, because ultimately you've got to put 10 1K intervals together, but without a rest. And if you can maintain 8 at your target pace, I reckon that you're in line to hit that pace eventually after 6 weeks of solid training. You could maintain that by reducing the rest and getting stronger. But if you can't, at the start of the training block, I think it's an unrealistic goal that you set yourself.
Talked about the physiology of what's happening to your body in the 5K or the 10K, mostly what's happening in the 10K. The drop that's there for me and how I can train to develop that a closer drop to where the drop in pacing is what I mean, and why the 10K is so much more difficult for me. Knowing yourself and, you know, what you naturally like better. So honestly, I like the 10K when I slowly ramp into it. So I'm not pro. I want to enjoy running. And I think Jakob Ingebrigtsen, I can't even say his last name, but his quote was, I never go more than 87% in training. Anyway, do you want to add anything else to all this?
Coming back to what I want to say with this, to run a good marathon, you need to run a good 10K. Unless you can run quick, you can't do a fast marathon. So leg speed is so important because it connects all the way down the line.